Okay, SpeechCom 101 students, it's week 10, and you deserve to give yourselves a nice pat on the back because those were some really great informative speeches. I was especially impressed with how interesting the topics were, how much you had put into exploring those topics, and the language, the use of the language was really exceptional. Maybe the best I've ever had, especially from an online class. Some great examples of vivid language with metaphors and things like that. Great descriptions of the concepts. It was very clear. I did make a few notes about the need to add more we language in when you're referring to the audience. But otherwise, the language was very strong, and I loved all the metaphors. So excellent job there. I made a few comments that showed up kind of across the board. One of those comments related to an emphasis on structure, so making sure that you've got all of those elements of the introduction, like the attention catcher, the listener relevance, the speaker credibility, the thesis, the main points. Then you have those transitions, all the elements of the conclusion at the end. Just a little more emphasis on making sure that that structure is there and that it stands out. That will help with the clarity a little bit. And then one of the things that was actually done pretty well, but I just made it a comment quite frequently about citing anything that's not your own idea. So if it comes from somewhere else, cite that thing. For the most part, the citing was done pretty well, but it's always a point of emphasis for me. If it's not your own idea, make sure you cite that. I apologize for the mix-up in the speech guidelines. For some reason, I posted the wrong guidelines, and that as a result, they didn't have the information about the audience and the setting requirements. I talked about those in one of the previous week kickoff videos, but that was the only mention that I had. And for some reason, for the informative speech, I didn't have the right guidelines posted. I had the right guidelines posted for the persuasive and for the special occasion, but for some reason, I went with the wrong one for the informative. That was my fault, so I just gave everybody the points that I would have given to anybody who showed an audience and had a good setting. But that's something to keep in mind for the persuasive and for the special occasion. You're going to need to address those things as far as audience and setting. The persuasive speech is our next one coming up. It's going to be a much faster turnaround than what we had between the introductory speech and the informative speech. So just be prepared for that. Be thinking of topics that you're interested in addressing and be at least starting to do the first steps toward putting this speech together. I'm hoping that you're enjoying the fresh look of the Prezzies. I figured out how to put things together and use the different backgrounds a little bit more, and I'm more comfortable with that. So I'm kind of liking the different designs. I'm hoping you are too. We have two Prezzies this week. One to do with giving our speeches social impact, which is a very important thing, so that we're adding to public discussions, contributing to the advancement of ideas, and helping solve problems. And then the other one addresses fallacies, and I think you're going to find this interesting because it's actually something that I think you'll find very useful in addressing different fallacies, not only other people's fallacies, but your own, and critically thinking about the messages that you produce and that you're exposed to on a daily basis. There is one Twitter question for this week, and I can't remember which Prezi that's in, but it's in one of them. And I think there were a couple of different really interesting issues. One related to giving our speeches social impact, and then this issue of fallacies and working through those things. So I hope you have an awesome week. And again, great job on those informative speeches. Just work on that structure a little bit. As a group, that's my message. Work on that structure and make sure you cite anything that's not your own idea. Have an awesome week, and I'll see you next week.